Welcome to Pages from the Dark Side, the monthly book club with a specialization in spooky. I am your host, Dylan Ludwig, aka Mr. Hyperware, and I am joined by my co-host,
Alyssa Ludwig, also known as the Earbud Bookworm. And this month we are discussing Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle.
Yes.
Internet sensation.
This month marks the release of his newest book, Bury Your Gaze. But let us not forget that Chuck Tingle is also the prolific author of many such titles, such as Space Raptor Butt Invasion.
Classic. Blown
by this handsome sentient bubblegum, who is also a successful landscape architect. Sorry, I had a list here. My Macaroni and Cheese is a Lesbian and also my lawyer. And, of course, that wonderful classic, Pounded in the Butt by my handsome sentient library card, who seems otherworldly, but in reality is just a natural part of the priceless resources our library system provides.
I'm going to be honest, I've never read a Tingler, and I feel like I should. We've supported Chuck with, just through social media. We supported buying this book, and you pre-ordered Bury Your Gaze for me.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're missing out on something by not reading the Tinglers. And I know that some people think that they're like a joke, and in a way, like, the titles are funny, and there is a lot of fun to be had with them, but if you look at man named Chuck's social media, he is very serious. Like, these are serious books to him.
Yeah, from what I've heard, these are written to be like genuine, like smut or erotica, which I have experience reading smut and erotica.
And some of them aren't. Some of them are, what is it called? Like, not, they're tame. What's the word? The opposite of erotica. They're just general.
Yeah.
And I just realized that my water's over here.
Yeah, and the thing is, you think that this is appropriate for us to have being released during Pride Month, because now we're out of that. That being said, Pride doesn't just stop when June is over. We celebrate Pride all the fucking time as members of the LGBTQ plus community ourselves.
Yeah, it's a lot of people think that we're straight because we're married, but we're actually both not straight. We just happen to have married each other.
Representing here. I'm actually not wearing these the entire episode.
Yeah, please don't.
That's gonna be weird as hell.
I wear my
sunglasses at night so I can.
Well, don't sing too much. We don't want to get flagged for
that's fair.
Copyrighted material or something.
Anyway. So, Camp Damascus.
Yes.
So
are we just going to get right into it?
Well, let's do a little, talking about Chuck Tingle here. As we discussed, he is most well known for his Tinglers, his erotica or romance, which are, very much under his ethos, which is love is real.
Yes.
It doesn't matter
that's his whole spiel.
Who, what, when. It's treated in utmost sincerity. But also, before this book, he also came onto my radar for his novella called Straight.
Yes. I read that after I read Camp Damascus. Camp Damascus was the first thing that I read of his that wasn't just his social media posts.
And Straight is fucking scary.
It is. I guess before we continue any further, because, we always have it out there that there will be spoilers for the book that we're discussing. Are we going to discuss any spoilers for Straight?
I don't think we'll go into spoilers, because it's pretty short. The basic gist of that is this kind of zombie movie sort of idea, but it's once a year. This sort of a purge sort of thing that happens among heteronormative or heterosexual people, in which a virus causes them to become uncontrollably murderous towards those who are not hetero. So people that are of gay community, queer community, trans, bi, pan, bi-pan is what I identify as. And here's the thing, is that zombies were my first phobia, and that has continued on. And so when fiction starts to introduce smart zombies, which this is kind of a variant of that, it's fucking freaky to me.
Yeah.
Especially ones that are able to kind of vocalize their intentions. And Straight is, it's, I hate, no pun intended, but it's pretty straightforward in what that book is about.
Pun intended.
Yeah, there's a reason that, like, if you do the audiobook, it's like 4 or 5 hours long. It's not very long at all.
Yeah, I think it was 4 and some change.
By the way, we should have prefaced it. 2-time Hugo Award finalist, Chuck Tingle.
Hugo Award finalist. Although there has been
on the cover here.
Yes, there has been some controversy about the Hugo Awards recently. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
Yeah.
What is this?
I don't have. I didn't get all the details, but there's some controversy about it not being, a unbiased awards system. And so some of the previous finalists and winners are feeling a little bit put out. So that might be something that you might want to Google and look into. But
okay, I was not aware of that.
Well, I found out about it on Chuck Tingle's social media.
Oh man, that's disappointing.
It is.
Now, there's a lot of theories also about, because Chuck Tingle is also very well known. If you look at if you look him up, he's always wearing a mask and sunglasses.
Yes.
There's a lot of theories about his identity. One of the prevailing theories is that it's Chris Pine.
Yes.
Yes.
I subscribe to this theory. They
don't sound that similar.
Okay, but you can change your voice, okay? So this is my conspiracy theory. Okay, this is the one that I'm going to hold on to.
Okay.
Chuck Tingle and Chris Pine have you ever seen them together?
Have you ever seen them in the same room together?
That's what I want. Have you ever seen them together? No, you haven't. Okay, I rest my case. Thank you. Thank you.
So Camp Damascus. Okay, so this will be interesting because I actually did not listen to the audiobook version of this. You did.
I did. I started out. This is one of the few books that I tried to read in physical format. So for those of you watching, listening, whatever, I just recently got diagnosed with ADHD. I have suspected for many, many years that I have ADHD.
Welcome to the club.
Yes.
Although I still need a diagnosis.
You don't have a diagnosis yet either, but I am also quite sure that you have it. But I thought that I had maybe mild to moderate ADHD. No, I have severe ADHD. I have just recently found out. That explains a lot about the fact that I am not only unable to read physical books very easily because I get super distracted, but also probably why I listen to my audiobooks at usually 2 times speed. It depends on the speed of the narrator. There are some really slow readers that I actually have to go faster than 2 times speed. Thank you, Libby, for letting me go all the way up to 3. And then if somebody's got a really thick accent, sometimes I have to pull it back to 1.75 or something like that.
Are you by that that with YouTube videos by chance?
Yes.
Okay.
I
see that.
Yeah. I watch almost all my YouTube videos
for me,
at 2 times speed too.
Doing the extra speed on a YouTube video just sounds like agony to me.
Oh, see, no. If I watch a video at regular speed, everybody sounds drunk to me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because if I watch a video at 2 times speed and they're moving way too fast, I just kind of look at it going, that person's not moving right. What the fuck is wrong with them?
No, I think Netflix now gives you the option to watch things faster,
really?
And I'm kind of tempted to try. I haven't done it yet, but I'm kind of tempted to try it when I'm watching stuff in English, because I do watch a lot of stuff in foreign languages.
You watch it dark in 2 times speed where they're speaking German?
Dark I've seen enough times. I feel like I could probably watch it at 2 times speed, but we are getting completely off track. Hello, ADHD.
Sidebar to the sidebar.
So back to what we were saying.
The audiobook of Camp Damascus.
So the point was, I tried to read it in physical format. I got about, I don't know, maybe 2 chapters in. It might have actually been 3. This was right after we had our youngest, and she had a diaper rash, so we had to keep giving her naked tummy time so that she could air out. And I used that time to read the physical book. And once that era was over, I couldn't keep my focus.
Right.
So I had to switch to the audiobook. It was just not optional for me. I really wanted to read it in physical format, but I was happy to listen to the audiobook because of the narrator.
Yeah, and who would that narrator by chance
The
be?
narrator is Mara Wilson.
Which, for anybody who is a 90s,
if you were a 90s kid, Matilda,
mm-hmm.
or also Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes.
She was the youngest daughter in that.
And
that's
probably something else that I'm missing entirely, but...
I mean, she was in a lot of things all in that era, and then she kind of left the scene because she didn't want to be a child actor anymore, and now I believe she's a writer.
Yeah.
And so
children's books, mostly, yeah.
I think so, yeah. So it was really cool to kind of have her come back for this audiobook.
Which, by the way, to once again sidebar, I found out something really dark regarding
Mm-hmm.
Mara Wilson. Not anything about her as a person.
Yeah.
But she, in an interview, mentioned that at one point when she was a child, she found out that there was people that were sexualizing her, like,
yes.
as a child.
I mean, that's going to happen.
Which, I mean...
which is unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, and because it's something that keeps happening with other child actors.
And it's going to keep happening.
Like, the countdown to when Millie Bobby Brown would turn 18.
Oh my gosh, I know.
But, yeah, Mara Wilson voices the audiobook. I have still not listened to it. How does she do on it?
It's awesome.
Good.
She's really good. I really liked her inflections and her speed, and I mean, again, I had to listen to it at two times speed, but it was perfect for that. Yeah. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed her narration.
So to jump into what this book is about, it's essentially regarding, I mean, if the title inferred it enough, and you know, the kind of who the author is inferred enough, it is regarding, how would I put this? It's this town that is basically kind of built its entire society and existence around the titular Camp Damascus, which is essentially a gay conversion camp.
I don't know why you say essentially. It's a gay conversion camp.
Yeah,
that's it.
For all intents and purposes, yeah.
No, you don't need to add any modifiers. It's a gay conversion camp, and they are very open about that.
That's true.
Their whole...
It's pray the gay away, that kind of...
Their whole, like, their catchphrase is love right.
Yeah.
They're a gay conversion camp.
Which, it's fun, which, like, even just right there as their catchphrase, you know that they're right-leaning.
Well, yes.
But, yeah, so it's a gay conversion camp, which the funny thing is about gay conversion camps is that...
There's a funny thing about gay conversion camps?
It's not really funny, it's more kind of cruel, I guess.
Okay.
But it's this idea that you're going to put a bunch of gay kids or queer kids in the same room together, and you're going to try to find a way to exercise their sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, having them in proximity of each other, I just look at them and go, well, they're not gonna change their sexuality. They're gonna find it.
Right.
Like, it just seems very counterintuitive, but to what their goal is. But ultimately, you know, as we can all agree, or at least people that are sensible, gay conversion camps, which are still a thing, unfortunately,
mm-hmm.
are absolutely disgusting.
Oh yeah.
Practice and business. And,
yeah. No.
Yeah. So this book, but the funny thing is, despite the title, most of the book is not set at the camp.
Well, no, but it's about the camp.
Yeah. We don't really get to the camp until the last chapter, and so a lot of it leading up to it is about our main character Rose, who is a high school girl who, in the first chapter, she is she's about to graduate high school, and she's with all her friends, and they're gonna jump off this waterfall together, like, woo, we're all gonna, we're moving on, and we're growing up, and the world is our oyster.
Mm-hmm. Coming of age and all that.
Yeah, and then she spots some fucking creepy woman just
mm-hmm.
watching in the crowd.
In a
polo with a name tag,
mm-hmm.
but is like got gray skin and this complete like rictus grin on her that mm-hmm. is, which I'm sure
that was a little rough for me. I do one of my biggest fear triggers is faces doing things they shouldn't do, and even reading it is hard for me.
Yeah.
But it was worth it.
But it didn't help that a couple months later, there was some fan art that Chuck Tingle shared that was of the creatures that are in this book, and the minute I saw
had to block that.
The minute I saw that, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, I had to block that post. It was really good artwork. It really was, but I had to block it. I couldn't keep having it show up on my feed.
The funny thing is that as creepy as that is, that wasn't the part that made me immediately uncomfortable. What made me immediately uncomfortable was she has the drive home with her best friend, who is like very much like in the friend zone, and is like going in for the kiss, and she's like, whoa, I'm not really into you that way, and he's like, what and basically it's just kind of gotten a lot of incelish behavior behind it. And then there's also, she goes in to have dinner with her parents, and her parents are really pushy about like, hey, you like that boy, right? You're gonna go out with him, right? It was a good date, right? And then out of nowhere, she vomits up a bunch of mayflies out of her mouth.
Yeah.
And the parents just don't react as if there's anything weird about that.
Yeah, no.
And so that kicks off this big mystery of
what's going
on, and and as the book progresses, reality is kind of warping a little bit around her. People start dying
in really hellish ways.
Yeah, and it's like, particularly if she's attracted to somebody, which which is very germane to what her entire growth in the book is about. Do you want to take it from here?
I guess we're going to get into like real spoiler territory now. So if you have not read the book, go get it and read it and come back. All right. So now that you've had a chance to read it, let's talk about what's going on here, because the mayfly thing, ew, and double ew. And
you also have a problem with vomiting too.
I do a little bit. I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I do have like mild emetophobia.
But I was so on guard about it that I warned you ahead of time that the most recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had an extensive vomiting scene. Even though it's an animation.
Well, yeah, no, like there's that one Family Guy episode too, and like, oh god,
I wish we could put a clip of that in here.
but no, so look at the levels. Look at the levels here when we laugh. Gonna be blowing out people's eardrums if they're listening with headphones. But anyway, so this book. Okay, so anyway,
you have me in suspense here.
I'm sure it's not like you've read it or anything. But no, so Rose, our main character, realizes that she's gay. Bum bum bum, and this creature keeps showing up every time she is attracted to somebody.
Yeah.
And it just turns into this really weird thing where it's like trying to figure out, where did this creature come from? What is this creature? And she starts Googling things in secret, because even though she's 20 years old, she has to be secretive with her cell phone because her parents are completely up her ass.
They're helicopter parenting.
Oh, boy. And like, she doesn't even have a door on her bedroom, but she's like, I swear I had a door, but I can't remember the last time I had a door.
And they're just like, oh, you making things up.
Right. And she, of course, is, going to this therapist, and then...
Therapist is shady as shit.
Therapist is shady. He doesn't have any, doctorate information on his walls.
No, this man got his doctorate out of Cracker Jack box.
Basically.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about the mayflies? Do we want to get into that yet? Or should we, unfold the mystery as we go?
So here's the thing about the book, is that it is constantly playing with this idea that they're trying to lead on to what is happening is something supernatural or is maybe biblical, because, and this is all because we're restricted to Rose's point of view, and which her point of view is that she's been conditioned to believe heaven and hell are real, and everything that is happening is of God's judgment.
Right.
And so her initial belief is that, okay, well, what I am feeling is sinful, And so this is a demon that is come here to punish me.
Mm-hmm. And then she starts doing some research and realizing that not only is she gay, she went to Camp Damascus.
And has no memory of it.
And she has no memory of it.
Yeah.
But then she starts slowly getting her memories back and talking to other kids who went to Camp Damascus, and she finds a couple that have some of their memories too.
Yeah.
And one of them just happens to be her girlfriend.
Yep. Willow, who... It's funny that later in the book they would explain that Willow is very much into witchcraft. I think that's a very sly Buffy reference because later on in Buffy, the character of Willow becomes a witch.
Well, to be fair, Willow does say, like, I'm not a witch, I'm just really into nature.
Right.
But she does have a lot of things that Rose considers a cult.
She's one of those girls that you would meet that's got, like, preserved animals.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what she's... hello!
Probably a dream catcher in a room somewhere.
I have preserved animals.
You do.
Got a little baby squirrel in a jar.
Yeah, you do.
Got some bugs. We just got that wasp recently.
We did. Wonder how it's doing.
It's dead.
Yeah, probably not well. So with the creatures, the initial belief is that, okay, these things have to be from hell. Mm-hmm. They're vulnerable to fire.
Right.
Which becomes a big tip-off to go, wait a minute, I thought they were of fire and brimstone, why is fire hurting them? So, with the between that and with the connection with the mayflies that we find out later, the thing that I really kind of took away from this and that I was able to pick up on as we dug in later into it was me going, shit, this isn't just not a supernatural book because they make it very clear that these things are interdimensional creatures as opposed to being from hell or a biblical landscape. But this is a Quatermass story. And for those who don't know, Quatermass is a very specific genre that was very popular in the 1950s with stuff like Quatermass in the Pit was kind of one that...
I guess that's where the name comes from.
That's probably that's where the name comes from. And is essentially the hybridization of folklore and science fiction. A good modern example of this is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, in which...
I don't know if I call that modern.
Well, contemporary. Granted, it was back in the 80s, but...
I was going to say, isn't that movie older than me?
Yeah, but you don't see a lot of movies that are like that since
then. But I still don't think you can say it's a modern reference. I'm just saying. But continue.
A 20th century reference. You're welcome. So...
Continue.
So, that's the part that really kind of grabbed me, was that this was going to be basically a Quatermass story, and that these are interdimensional creatures that somehow this Christian cult of Camp Damascus and just of the township itself, because everybody in the town is in on what Camp Damascus is doing. So it's more of a conspiracy thriller in a lot of ways than it is a sort of like horror thriller.
I mean, it's both.
I mean, the horror is still pretty prominent.
The horror is very prominent.
But it's essentially that they have the kids that go to Camp Damascus tethered to the creatures. And so anytime that they have a quote-unquote impure thought, the creatures are programmed to terrorize them.
To get rid of the impure thoughts.
Yeah.
And if the thoughts are about a specific person, then sometimes they will go
the extra
all
mile.
The way.
Yeah. The mayflies are kind of a natural extension of the creatures. They explain that they're part of the life cycle of them in a way.
And I don't remember that.
I thought that's what they...
but
this is where I start to not remember as much of the book.
Yeah, because you didn't finish your reread.
Call me out, why don't you?
I am calling you out. I love you very much, but I'm calling you out.
Well, fill me in here, because I'm missing something.
So, the mayflies are some weird hybridization, mutation of mayflies that don't have to gestate in the normal way. And when they lay eggs in you, because that's what they're doing, is laying their eggs. which do not become larvae. They just become straight mayflies.
Yeah.
And, if I'm remembering wrong, because I listened to this, just a couple days ago, but I was, putting the kids to bed, driving to work, whatever. So I might have missed some stuff. Go ahead and correct me in the comments, email me, whatever. Seriously, call me out. But the whole thing is that they make you forget.
Yeah.
When they bite you. Mm-hmm. Because the thing that Rose is like figuring out is that certain insects have created things like in their saliva, in mosquitoes, they have that slight numbing sensation, which is one thing that eventually turns into an itching sensation, to help, disguise their bite. Mm-hmm. Well, they find out that these mayflies make you forget. And that's the whole thing. They want you to forget that you were at Camp Damascus. They want you to forget that whole thing.
That's how the amnesia is created.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're doing the whole Eternal Sunshine thing through mayflies.
Yeah. Essentially a horror version of Eternal Sunshine.
To be fair, that...
the movie itself is already a horror movie.
But that's a conversation for a different day. But yeah, no... So that's the whole point of the mayflies, is that they make you forget that you were ever at Camp Damascus. They make you forget that you were even gay. All of that.
So they basically are implementing it's like a 5-step process for it.
Oh, yeah.
Take kids to Camp Damascus, reprogram them via mayflies that will give them amnesia, and if they even think about having any sort of extra impure thoughts, have demons terrorize them. Lather, rinse, repeat. Profit. Yeah.
Yeah, because the way that Rose finds out that she was at Camp Damascus to begin with is that she finds her file at her therapist's office and sees how much her parents have been paying every week. And then she sees that the initial payment was for $500,000.
Which, by the way, you bring that up.
Yes.
That's how I know that this therapist did not get his doctor from a legitimate place. Mm-hmm. Because he makes that rookie fucking mistake of leaving that file for her to be able to get so easily. Like, this is one of the stupidest doctors I've ever read in a book.
Well, because he was so cocky. He thought, that he was... I don't know. He thought he was perfect, basically.
And he gets, like, the worst death in the book.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of, like, just complete agony. Because he basically gets swarmed by the larvae who force themselves inside of his body. And
then he starts forgetting everything.
Like, can you imagine, like, all of your memories just going as you're being eaten from inside out?
I mean, that's horrible, but also he freaking deserved it, man.
Yeah, it's funny.
He did.
He did, and that's one that I will agree he actually deserved, as opposed to, like, we're watching the Planet of the Apes movies, and you still argue that the asshole neighbor in Rise of the Planet of the Apes deserved to get his finger bitten off by Caesar.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, I mean, he's an asshole, but do you really deserve to go that far?
Spoiler for that.
It's early in the movie.
Early-ish.
Also, we're 4 movies into that series.
Okay, your point.
Like, people have probably seen it.
I hadn't. We tag our spoilers.
Yep, well,
sir.
Spoiler for Planet of the Apes. Tag it ahead of time. Here.
I'm going to tag it in our info.
Or you can just bleep me.
I mean, I could.
That's up to you.
I'll just bleep you right out.
Camp Damascus! Star Grove. Alright, I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, Camp Damascus.
Yes.
So, at the core of this is also a coming-of-age story with Rose.
Yes.
Because it's her discovering or even rediscovering her sexuality, meeting other like-minded people that also share the same kind of growth. Like, later on we meet this kid, Saul, who's, like, living out in a junkyard in the middle of nowhere, who's also still tethered to a demon in a sequence that it was weird because it had this very strange sort of 80s Amblin vibe where they set this super elaborate trap to not just capture the demons but cook them. And then like right after that she goes and tracks down Willow,
who she had already run into earlier in the book, but that was like a whole thing because she didn't remember who she was yet.
Yeah, which I found it really funny because they meet up at a like a trendy coffee shop, and knows nothing about coffee and orders an Americano, and I'm just like, that is the stupidest fucking thing that you could order if you don't know anything about coffee. It's
she
just
panicked.
It's just espresso and water. It's fucking gross.
She panicked.
But one of the things that I appreciate about that book is that it takes the time to have these sweet moments between these characters, and really just kind of showcase them as just regular kids in a really fucked up situation.
Right.
Which is why by the time that you get to the end of the book, and even though they're in kind of what assumes is a no way out situation. Now this is one thing I'm blanking on. How did they get because it escalates to they get out of Camp Damascus, or they're trying to get out of Camp Damascus. They're freeing all these other kids that are like basically locked in cages there.
Yeah.
Dr. Smith has been killed by larvae that made him forget and also die. And then they get cornered by a bevy of camp counselors
and the owner,
like a paramilitary security force, and a bunch of these demons.
Yes.
How did they get the demons to turn on them?
So Rose, who had been losing her faith, remembers a specific prayer incantation thing about freedom, I think. I can't remember exactly what it was, but she started reciting it under her breath while she was doing her little finger tap thing, and their collars started falling off. And one of the other, I can't remember if it was Willow or Saul, one of them was like, how's that happening? She's like, I don't know. So that's like our little foray into, maybe there is a little bit of supernatural type stuff going on here.
Yeah, or at least that these creatures have some sentience that is a little based in earthly values. But
once they're untethered,
shit goes fucking crazy, y'all.
And they don't have an issue with being gay. They have an issue with torturing kids who are gay.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that the morality of the demons, when you actually have them untethered, their morality is pretty pure.
Yeah.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, we don't care that if you love if you as a girl love another girl, but we do have a problem with child abuse.
Yep. So it was a beautiful end.
It's a beautiful end. It's basically burn it down.
Yep.
And so it was just absolutely delightful to read, and very, delightful is a strong word because it's a very heavy book. But, it's the kind of, retributive type of story that I want to see because gay conversion camps are I would actually classify them as evil.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So to read a story about...
Which is why we do not support Chick-fil-A.
I don't even like their food. It's easy for me to fight the good fight.
I did, because I'm from the South.
Yeah.
I really like Chick-fil-A, but I will not eat it anymore. I do not support them.
Yeah.
The end. Continue.
Hobby Lobby, too. But, so it's refreshing to read a story that is not only, very cathartic in that retributive sort of sensibility, but also is just a really sweet story about this girl who's growing up and discovering herself, discovering who she loves, discovering her sexuality,
discovering the world, honestly, because she was so sheltered.
Yeah, and those are always very interesting stories for me to read. And I think that, I have not read much of what else Chuck Tingle has done outside of Straight. I give Straight some more points because I just had such a visceral reaction to that book. I actually was like checking windows before I would go to bed at night.
Yeah. I feel like, was that the one you were... Because you listened to that one, right?
I did.
Well, wasn't that one of the ones where you were listening to it, like, when you took the trash out and you came back in and you're like, I didn't like that?
It's between that and the movie The Sadness, those really kind of mess with me for quite a while.
I remember that.
But I'm not going to divulge into that movie. But this one is very much, I wouldn't even say that it's got this, like, Amblin vibe all the way through, because it is really fucking heavy. But it reminds me a lot of something like It. Like Stephen King's book.
No, I could see that.
Just without a lot of, like, but a more narrow focus.
Yeah.
Whereas it's just pretty all over the place.
Yeah.
We'll take a drink. We'll talk about that at some point. But
yes, because we are going to have a whole series called King's Corner.
Yeah.
So.
But I thought this book was fantastic.
Yes. Absolutely fantastic.
It blew a lot of my expectations out of the water for it, because I really did not know what to expect. I didn't think Chuck Tingle could write like this, because I was just so used to reading the excerpts of, what's he got here?
Going to look for another one, huh?
I mean, I might be a little curious.
Yeah. I'm sorry, is there a coloring book?
He does have a coloring book. Dr. Chuck Tingle's adult coloring and activity book for true buckaroos.
I need that
and there is,
for my birthday.
And there's a Parasaurolophus with a man's body and a giant...
Well, because, my dear, that's a whole thing with Harriet Porber. Okay. Anyway, continue.
But also, bisexual Mothman, male man, makes a special delivery in our butts.
Yes.
Or my sleep paralysis demon is actually pretty hot and she's great at oral.
Yes. These are and I mean, they're only like, they're a couple dollars. So yeah, I feel like we should get a couple.
They're $4 or something like that.
I mean, most of them are like $3 for the Kindle, like,
because they're really short
e-versions. And unfortunately, because of their content, they're not things that you can get from like the library.
No.
But they've got them on Amazon, so I think we should check some out.
Read them together.
Yeah. To do it.
So. But it never occurred to me that this guy could also just be an excellent horror author. And that's why I have to give this one 5 out of 5 skulls.
Absolutely. I agree. 5 skulls from me too. And I think that one thing that is important to kind of remember, because do you follow Chuck Tingle on social media, or
I do.
Do you just see
stuff?
No,
I do. That's how I found that, like, concept art that he shared.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which, by the way, that guy's Instagram, he draws some nightmarish shit.
Oh, I bet.
It's all about that. Yeah.
I'm staying far away. Great artist, but I'm staying far away.
Yeah, but I follow him on the socials.
Okay, so I think it's important to note that he is very vocal about the fact that all of his writing is serious writing. Yeah. And we kind of touched on this in the beginning. And also of note is that it's all connected. Mm-hmm. And that's one reason why I would love to read some of the Tinglers, because this is part of the Tingleverse. It's all part of the Tingleverse.
That's like, very strange.
It's all interconnected. You gotta trot, buckaroo. Okay?
Would you ever want to see an adaptation of this book?
I don't know. That's a tough question. Because as we talked about last month...
Mm-hmm. With Knock at the Cabin...
Adaptations do not always turn out well.
But sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do. Yeah. Sometimes they do. And I think that if you could get it in the right hands, it could be a really good... I would say it would probably have to be a movie, not a show.
You think?
I think so.
It's very episodic in its chapter format.
It kind of is, and I feel like maybe you could do like a very short miniseries, like maybe 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah.
You would have to be very intentional, though.
So here's the thing, is that with the tone of this, do you think it should be like extremely dark, uncomfortable horror all the way through, or should it be kind of, not necessarily a horror comedy, but like a little bit on the lighter side?
No, I think it would have to be a horror, like straight horror.
Okay.
I feel like it could kind of be like Black Mirror, in that every once in a while you get an episode that's a little bit more lighthearted, but there's still some darkness to it.
Yeah.
And I feel like you could maybe do it that way where you've got like 1 or 2 episodes like maybe towards the middle that are a little bit more light.
Yeah.
Like maybe especially flashbacks to her and Willow together. I don't know. But I lean more towards it being dark.
I could name some directors that I could see doing this, but you wouldn't know who I'm talking about.
But we got an audience, so let's go. Let's hear them.
Okay, so like, there's some horror releases that come out this year that kind of make me think could capture the vibe of this. There's a director named Osgood Perkins who has a movie coming out, I think either this weekend or next weekend, called Long Legs.
Okay.
Which is getting rave reviews.
Is that about spiders?
It's not, believe it or not.
That's disappointing.
We have 2 other spider movies this year, but this is not one of them.
Spider movies
no, it's actually like a really intense like serial killer movie with Nicolas Cage as the serial killer.
Oh, well, we have to watch this.
Yeah, and the trailers look fucking scary as shit.
Okay.
Along the same line.
And we love Nicolas Cage in this house, okay?
We do. There's also a movie called Cuckoo that comes out later that's got Hunter Schafer from Euphoria, among many other things. But, you know, also Dan Stevens, who's on a hell of a role this year.
He is.
But
who's the director on that?
I can't remember the name, actually. I'd have to look that up.
That's fine.
But also, like, I'd hate to just say, like, Mike Flanagan for everything, but I feel like he can do a pretty good job here.
But, see, and that's a name that I know because we love Mike Flanagan in this house, too. So.
Yeah, although I think I like Dr. Sleep more than you.
I think you did, and that's something that we could discuss if we want to discuss King's Corner.
Yeah.
Like that on an episode of King's Corner.
But I feel like you'd have to have somebody that's got a really good... Well, now that I think about it, maybe you should get like a queer director to work on this.
Honestly, yeah, that would probably be...
because to have that point of view.
Yes, I think that would probably be an important factor.
Yeah. Because I just named a bunch of, you know, cis men, and maybe that's not the right approach. Maybe, I don't know, Zelda Williams just had a movie come out this year called Lisa Frankenstein. Maybe...
I know, I want to see that. That looks good.
It's on Peacock.
I know.
So we'll check it out. But yeah, that's Camp Damascus, guys, and this is in preparation for Bury Your Gaze, which comes out... Can't remember if it comes out before this episode will drop or after.
It's going to be just a couple days before it comes out. I believe on the 11th.
But
this episode will come out on the 13th. That's what we do.
I'm very intentionally going into that book not knowing anything about it.
Yeah, I haven't even read a synopsis. I don't want to know anything about it. The only thing I know is I think the audiobook has multiple narrators. Yeah,
which you know, but Straight and Camp Damascus are very, you know, narrow focused on their POV, so this is going to be him broadening it, sounds like, and
I guess
we'll see how it handles it.
Yeah,
he handles it.
Super intrigued.
I'm worried that this is going to be a case of like Jordan Peele, where, you know, Get Out and Us I think are fantastic. Nope, it's good, but I wouldn't call it my favorite of his filmography. But I think that's, you know, he gets very big on that one.
Right.
But so. That's Camp Damascus. Go ahead and check it out. You can get it on Amazon, both in hardcover and paperback form. You can also, if you have a Libby account, you can borrow the audiobook version of that. And next month, we will be talking about Clown in a Cornfield and its sequel, Clown in a Cornfield 2, Friendo Lives by Adam Cesar.
Yes.
In preparation for the 3rd book in that trilogy, Clown in a Cornfield, The Church of Friendo, coming out shortly after, and I am so fucking excited to talk about those ones.
Yes, I'm psyched about that too. Although not quite as psyched as I was about this.
I know.
This was the one. This was the one I was excited for.
This was the one that made you say, "We need to make this podcast because I need to talk about Camp Damascus somewhere."
Yes, this was the thing that made me say we have to do this.
And you know what? We did it.
We did it.
And so. Happy Pride forever, not just Pride Month. It's, you know.
That's right.
Love is love.
Love is love. And love is real.
Love is real. So with that in mind, thank you for listening to Pages from the Dark Side, and we will see you in the next chapter.
Bye, y'all.
This has been a production of Pages from the Dark Side. Sound and video production by Alyssa and Dylan Ludwig. Music and artwork by Aaron Shively.